Well, the Play Soccer, Make Peace program was really something that inspired people in Peru. Of course, Peru is a very football-conscious country, but never thought about how to combine it with moral education. And when they were presented with the vision, they really took it to heart and worked hard to bring about a successful event.
In Peru, particularly, I think one of the most moving aspects was that it brought together people from different districts, from the barrios, people from some very poor areas, people from some middle-class areas. Usually these people don't mix. And the wonderful thing about soccer is you can come from a different part of town, come onto the same field, put on a uniform, and pretty much you look the same in the sense you have the same qualification. But this allows the young boys in this case to come together and to meet other people from the same city, but ones which they would normally never meet.
Well, I was very happy to have the opportunity to do this, to give to the people of Peru, you know, the young people especially, who have such a difficult time in such a poor country. And I was very happy to be part of this and could see that through this initial competition we have a great opportunity to do much more.
Let me just sort of highlight Israel. It's a really interesting case because I think for many people, if peace can't come in Israel, then it can't come anywhere. So the design of the tournament there was to have 4 Arab teams playing against 4 Jewish teams. And it wasn't a fixed, you know, it just worked out this way that in the final we had an Arab team and a Jewish team playing together. Here's an example of just out of a small, you know, small beginnings, what can come. So the Israeli Football Federation, the director, the president, he came to the final match. He managed to get there about halfway through. He came for the second half. And he was just so excited because he said, you know, this has been missing from Israeli football up till now. So he represents the professional leagues and he represents the amateur leagues. And he's asked Play Soccer, Make Peace to be a part of their annual program in Israel. So one of the results, which has now come out, is that the young players themselves have said, look, can we actually come back together in March or April of the following year, this year we're in now, because the tournament took place in December, can we come back together and can we actually spend a weekend together and learn more about each other? We've played each other, but now we don't even actually know too much about each other. So you've got this interesting situation. They know how to play soccer. They know how to form teams. They've had a good experience with the other opposing team, but they don't know them. They know it's an Arab, but they know they're Jewish. But they'd like to get to know more about them. So there's a real positive step. This wasn't us telling them you ought to come together. This was these young 17-year-olds, you know, really bright kids on both sides, on all sides, saying we want to do this together. So this illustrates, you never quite know what's going to come out of the tournament. You don't know what little idiosyncrasy is going to take place in which country, because we're working with countries in South America, in South Africa, in Africa, North Africa. We're working in Asia. Everybody's culture is slightly different, the way everybody works together and plays together. But I think the Israeli situation showed a great example of something unexpected, which does result from a simple match, a simple soccer match. Suddenly people want to make friends.
Sports is one of the most amazing things, you know, especially for young people. Growing up, I couldn't imagine my life without it. I have 3 brothers, and every day was sports. It was just this unity I felt within my family.
What makes Play Soccer, Make Peace tick? I think what one has to understand is that soccer is really a vibrant part of many, many, many people's lives already throughout the world. And we've juxtaposed these 2 ideas, soccer and peace, which for many people is quite novel. They're going to play soccer, make war? No, make peace? Okay.
It's really hard to see kids that don't have that opportunity. They're really, you know, in difficult situations. They're more worried about, you know, surviving on a day-to-day basis than to actually think about sports. But they miss out on this whole atmosphere, this whole other life that can guide them in the future.
So what we find are these young teams who are passionate. They've captured this vision. Many of them come from rough areas of town. You know, their life is really off to a hard start. It's not, they don't have silver spoons in their mouth. They don't have mums and dads who really are sort of ferrying them around to soccer games. These people, they're making it on their own in many cases. You've got young, dedicated coaches, people who really care. Maybe it's a reverend, it's a local church which has adopted these kids, given them a soccer game, given them sport in their lives.
Poverty in the world, you look at it and the kids feel, you know, like they're worth nothing, life is miserable, you know, there's no joy and happiness. But yet in these communities you can find even these slight kids kicking around a soccer ball, or maybe it's just a can on the street and you see the joy in their face. And for those moments where they're with their friends, kicking that can or just playing around with a homemade ball, they can get away from all the pain of their life.
Some people in the developing countries, they use sport as a means to elevate one's standard. If they play well, if they play good, they may have a chance to go in the international arena and play there and be known, be famous, be rich, and be happy. But actually, what really could make them happy is to work together for a higher ideal, is to work in connection with a greater vision than what they have as an individual.
The question is, what's the image that they have of themselves? And through soccer, through sports, you can develop a very, very strong self-image, because you're the one out there making the game. You're the one who's on the field. You're the one who's part of a team. Every person is valuable. Poverty is, it's a frame of mind. It's not only just a real without resources, it's also how do people see themselves. And Play Soccer Make Peace is really trying to help these young men to see themselves in this very, very positive light, that they are valuable, they're a part of a team. Without them, the team cannot exist. So in the world, without each and every person, the world cannot exist.